only an hour and a half ago. But so I'll go a little bit quick because I do want to go through some of these things. So basically, we really want to construct. So these are kind of, this is all in the syllabus too, but I think it is. So construct this pre-analytic vision of ecological economics. Why, how does ecological economics see the world? The economy nested in society, nested in nature. We want to really understand how ecosystem structure and function work from a systems perspective. I should say any one of these things is enough to cover like a PhD program, much less a class. So we want to look at how the natural system works. We want to figure out within that natural system how the human subsystem functions, and looking at human behavior, looking at microeconomics, macroeconomics, international economics. So we'll go pretty in depth in a lot of these things. We want to be able to evaluate, design policy tools, so the goal is to solve problems here. And this is one of the things too in that reading by Multi-Faber, we're problem solvers. The reason we're doing this is to solve problems. It's not just to, develop better theory. It's to apply that theory to addressing real life issues. And so we want to be able to do this. So these are kind of theoretical objectives. And this too, like explore possible future paths. We want to look at where, so, this class, you start out with one of the first papers in ecological economics. And in the end, we want to look at what's happened in the years since. So Bob Costanza lays out his vision of where he sees it going, and says that in the early issues of this journal, we have to debate what's the right path and what is ecological economics. That debate is not over yet, and we'll go to where that debate stands now and then. But there's also concrete objectives, and one is, so this is the big thing. You hear all the time. So ecological economics is not taught in that many places. One challenge is it's very difficult to build the course from scratch. And so this class, for example, I built this from scratch. I've never taught this class in this way at all. It's all new readings, all new, and it's a pain in the ass. And a lot of professors, so we have a textbook that can guide you through, but if I got a textbook in microeconomics by, any leading textbook, they will send me a disk or a website that has, here are all the lecture notes you need. Here is the structure, here is the structure for everything you got to cover. Here's the assignments. Here's the exams. Here's the exercises. The whole thing. Any one of you could go teach a class in microeconomics. You'd have to read the chapter, but then everything would be there. You could do it really easily. Nothing like that exists in ecological economics. I want to make that exist. I want it so that this can be a course that we really. So I want to make it very, very easy to teach this, so that there's never an obstacle of I don't have the material, it's too much effort to create that material. I want you guys to create that material. And so that's a really big goal. But I also want you guys to, I'm hoping this links you to the gun community, David.
I'm wondering if you can flesh out this to
Yes.
teach. Are you speaking about to teach in this context, to teach in a university context, to teach as a MOOC where anybody in the world could download and take the course?
So we're going to talk a lot more about that, but yes, what I want it to be is a way to use the internet to facilitate teaching and learning of ecological economics. I look at it as something that a professor could take. So I'm going to teach this course. Here's tons of material I need to go and teach this course. I also want it to be for somebody who says, I want to learn ecological economics on my own, be able to go to this place and have the resource like a MOOC. So I want to play both of those roles, but I want you guys also to figure out, so my goal is how do we convince people that this is an appropriate paradigm to pursue? And the paradigm being that the economic system is part of the global ecosystem, that limitless growth is impossible. So how do we get the message out? And every previous version of this course, I think, has focused on students writing peer-reviewed journal articles. And so I've done this course twice before with Bob Costanza that resulted in special issues of ecological economics. So students got publications, got a lot of citations, actually had good impact factors. So it was pretty good, but I looked up recently I saw this apocryphal quote saying that the average journal article is read by 5 people if you count the authors. And I'm thinking that's not a very effective way to communicate. And I did look up an article in Science, a leading prestigious journal, saying that over half of journal articles, so the median journal article is not cited by anybody within the first 5 years, implying it's probably not read by anybody either. And so I don't think that's a very effective way to disseminate ecological economics. I want to look for a more effective way, and I want to do this website. So the two assignments you're going to really have are to do this website where there's 13 topics I figured we'd cover, 26 students, 2 students per topic, to do it. And I have modules online that you can look at to adapt and improve, but really to have, and to use your brain power on this. You guys are more in tune with learning right now than I am. You know what works, what doesn't, better than I do. But I want to end this semester with a super resource, so like next time Mary Jane teaches the class, she doesn't have to put, it's a lot of work to build that thing yourself, wasn't it? Yeah. So the goal is to do that. And I'll go over that in a lot more detail in a minute. But also this thing that I think the Gun is a really cool place. It's got a good camaraderie, really cool people, lots of different topics, and this is a chance for you guys to become more involved. So like every Friday there's a Gun tea you can come to. There's a lot of good people around here. Some of you are already physically located here, but it's a cool place to become involved in, and I want you guys to kind of use this course as a pathway to do that. I mean, maybe at the end we could even probably arrange for you guys to give a Gun tea where you present your, the new learning modules. I want to make this modular actually, so that it's easy to people pick and choose. You're not going to have one rigid framework for a course, but there's little modules so somebody can pick and choose what they teach. We'll talk about that more. But so that's really what I want for the course objectives. The organization, I went over this, so it's seminar style. This depends on your participation. I think you guys are doing a great job today. I so much enjoy hearing you guys rather than sharing my own voice, even though I tend to talk too much. Feel free to tell me to shut up, and I'll always try to get you guys to talk. So again, as I said, that first hour lecture discussion I'll lead. Second hour, you guys present 2 papers and guide discussion. And so basically, because we have so many students, we're going to do 2 papers per class. The ideal would be like 12 or 13 students, 1 paper by 1 student per class, but we got to crowd everything in. So it's going to be related to the class topic for the day. So when you, for example, next week is pre-analytic vision, I will ask for volunteers. And normally this will include students from York and McGill too, but next class it's just going to be you guys. So at the end of class, is there anybody interested in, so you have to dig up a paper, and so there's papers, you'll see, I have, I have recommended papers, and you can grab one of those and present on that for the first one, but later on I'd like you guys to expand my, cover stuff I don't know about, but find a paper, do a quick, present the key topics and have discussion points, and just a half hour. So that'll be the middle of every class, and I would like, ideally it's going to be influential papers. You could also find papers that totally challenge and contradict what we're learning in class.
Will those papers be read by the rest of the class as well, or no? Or
No, because I think we'll just have the student present it, and and ideally stimulate interest for people to read it. But the idea is it's kind of a self-contained presentation. And one thing I was thinking about is you could actually do this. You could have your little PowerPoint, your presentation, and the paper is part of a module. So here's your relevant paper, and you could put this into the teaching resources we create. And then the third part is, so they say, within, I think I said 36 hours or 24 hours, I forget what I said, but before each class, it's on the syllabus, slightly revised edition I gotta submit. You guys will have to submit discussion points, like say 1 major discussion point for each reading, or for each class topic, so the 2 readings. And you'll submit those ahead of time. I'll choose the best ones, or not always the best ones I want to emphasize, but so every class, the students who submitted that will be more responsible for guiding discussion. So you'll basically come to class ready to, have major discussion points on these papers. Everybody's gonna be prepared, and I will choose the ones that you guys will kind of lead the class that day. But it won't be like a huge burden. It'll be like a handful of discussion points. But so these are, any questions about that style? And partly this is a compromise because there's so many students. So I'm putting more lecture in than I normally would, and having the student presentations just because with so many people, it's hard to get everybody engaged. Any suggestions on how to, does that seem okay to you guys?
As far as the students present papers and choose a topic, those are in the syllabus, those topics?
The topics are in the syllabus.
Weekly topic?
Yeah, there's a weekly topic.
And so do you want us to be thinking about something that we're really excited about even down the road? And
Yeah, so what I'll do is, so what I'm gonna do is have everybody sign up, so I'll put up a doodle poll,
Okay,
and I'll have people sign up for the days they wanna present, and when you do that, you'll have to be looking at the syllabus and saying, this is that top, that's what I wanna present on. And, but it's, I don't know a way to do it fairly, so I thought a doodle poll, any of you can hop on and do it, it's, you know, you decide when you wanna hop on and do it. Somebody's gonna probably get screwed at the end, because the doodle poll's gonna fill up. But any suggestions for a more fair way to do that? I could have like lotteries, and then you would, whoever, you know, gets number one gets to pick their topic first. What do you guys think? So the doodle is whoever gets there, it's first come, first serve.
when are you gonna do that?
I will probably, so what I was gonna ask for is 2 volunteers for you guys to present next class on the pre-analytic vision. Anybody interested in launching off with, get it out of the way, not have to worry about the rest of the semester, you know,
Do you wanna give a brief definition of what that is?
so basically, so what you have to do is do the readings first. The pre-analytic vision is really this idea that the economic system is a subset of the global ecosystem. And the laws of physics and laws of ecology apply. So that would be the super brief definition. And you can, you know,
It's like systems thinking, basically.
yeah, it's system thinking, and if you look at the syllabus, there's, you know, I have some suggested readings there. So there's that required readings and recommended readings, and you can actually grab one of the recommended readings. All right, so you do. All right, so good, perfect. So you guys will have, and I'll send the thing around, and that's.
So are we gonna have access to like a PowerPoint screen for this, or do you just want us to? Just
Yep, you absolutely have access to PowerPoint if you want it. Although God knows how we're gonna pull this off when we have 10 more students. I think your PowerPoint will be there and their heads will be down there. And I'm gonna get to class early next week to figure this all out. So, and this is, it's gonna be tough, and I will ask your patience trying to figure this stuff out. We've done trial runs on it, and got it?
Sorry. One thing to keep in mind is like when we were doing this, if like every bullet point we put up a new one,
Yeah.
I could either, like for the film, I could either show it at the end,
Yeah.
like after you wrap up the slide, or maybe if you want to just like go through every bullet, like just put them all up right away, and then I get the slide and I go back to you.
All right, gotcha. Yeah.
And so if people are okay with that.
Yeah, because my things, depending on the, yeah, so you'll see sometimes mine goes point by point, when you'd rather just have it all at once. And then,
Yeah.
All right, and we won't videotape everything. I'm just doing this one because the other class is not here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because they'll normally.
Yeah, so normally they would, normally we'll all be here, but so this is my way of dealing with the fact they have one fewer class than us. They're gonna have to do the readings and check out this part of the thing. Yeah.
This is me thinking out loud, but given the distance constraints, I wonder if it'd be possible to say that anybody who's doing a PowerPoint needs to upload it to the Blackboard site or something? And then
They don't have access to the Blackboard site. They can
So
email it to
They
me.
could email it.
They can email it to me. That would probably be the easiest. Email it to me ahead of time, and then, if you're here physically, we can just pop it up. They will definitely have to email it to me ahead of time.
Yeah, but we want them to be able to see what we're presenting.
Yeah, and I think they can. I think it's gonna work that they can see the PowerPoint.
I thought Skylar was saying that he couldn't fit you and the screen.
No, but this is, we're doing this differently. This is just this first class, we're videotaping mostly this part so the students know how the class is organized. Just because they're still on vacation.
Okay. Well, if you email it out, let's make sure that they're less than 5 megabytes.
Yeah.
Some people's email programs will automatically not let it through if
Yeah,
it's too big.
yeah. And we can also, I can post to the course website too. So I'm gonna make, and this don't, you know, because I love Blackboard, it's really, really easy, and instead I've got to create my own website for the course, which I'm not very good at. So, anyway, so this will be the organization if this sounds fine to you, and it's flexible. If we figure this doesn't work, so I was thinking for that third part, as Margarita suggested, and I'd also thought we might break up into 2 groups here, and then they will have their separate groups there, just to get more opportunity for interacting. So the course project, and this is the big thing, and I have way more here than we can possibly cover in the time available. So I'll probably just end with this course project. And so we're, we want to develop this open access website. So it's to facilitate teaching and learning of ecological economics. You guys have a lot of flexibility in deciding how that's going to work. And I figure it's going to be modular. So each person, the way I look at it is we have essentially 13 topics for this class and 26 students. So there'll be 2 students per topic to put together, and the topics are broad enough, but they will put together these modules. And I have drafts of the modules with have, that I did a course here on how to do online education and the things that your module should cover, and so I guess it's based on good theory how we do this, and you guys can build on that. So what I'd like to make it is a site where people can submit a lot more modules, so that we'll start this out with 13 modules, kind of like a core course in ecological economics, but that any ecological economist anywhere would have the capacities to submit these things. And what I'm actually thinking about is if we could do it somehow. I don't know enough about web design. We do have some resources to pay for web design. To have something where people could actually have like with instantaneous peer review. So you would go, the module is there, and then there's peer review. People comment below on that module. And the designer of the module can then go back and change it to address some of the peer review, or whoever uses the module can simply edit it to reflect some of that peer review. So it's, because it's complicated if we're going to have somebody responsible for judging everybody's modules. And I thought if we could outsource that to the ecological economics community at large, people who are using it, that might be the best way to go. I don't know how to do this, the dynamics of it on a website, but I believe it's possible. And then we can hire somebody to do some of this stuff. So I want you guys to provide content. I'm going to find somebody who can actually integrate it onto this website towards the end of the semester. We'll pay them to do that. So we'll end this semester with that site up and running. And we'll host it here at the GUND, and International Society for Ecological Economics has also said they're very interested in hosting it. So, and so one thing I think, as much as possible, is make it multimedia. We already have a bunch of stuff like facts, frequently asked questions of ecological economists. So I interviewed, Herman Daly and Brian Chuck and John Erickson and Bob Costanza. I forget it. I don't know if I interviewed all of them, but some of the ones I filmed, some people know I filmed, but the other ones. And so there's little things like frequently asked questions with leading ecological economists to answer. And I thought we could expand that. Why not get a bunch more of these from leading ecological economists? And it has their chance to have a little piece. People can, and there'll be different views because it's not like physics, well, even physics is different views, but we can, another thing I thought we could send letters around to a ton of ecological economists saying, we're creating this website. If you have like some journal article that you've written and you've given a presentation on that journal article and you have PowerPoint on that and you have some questions you can have for students and maybe some, an assignment or something, and they could very quickly stitch together a little module that could be useful. And this is brainstorming here, thinking how we could do this to make it more than just our efforts. And I think a lot of economists, a lot of academics, I should say, or a lot of ecological economists, you want to get your message out. In the academic world, getting citations is the thing. So a chance to, have people take your paper and give a class on it, I think a lot of people would jump at that opportunity. And I think we could really populate this site in a big way. So I think we could do something very impressive over the course of this semester with this website. So any suggestions you guys have, we'll talk about this in future classes. But you guys can think about it. Any suggestions right now, how we could maybe make it stronger? Or other suggestions on how to involve,
Video is huge. I wonder if it would be useful to involve somebody around the UVM campus who specializes in video or multimedia.
So we have a couple of people here actually. Are you kind of working with the GUND on that in general, or just working with John Erickson?
Just not with the GUND.
Right, so we have 2 video people who are hired by the GUND to do exactly that, and can help us out with all that. John Erickson is the dean of the Rubenstein School, leading ecological economist. He's really started to focus on, I don't think he writes that many papers anymore. He's trying to do movies to get the message out. And he's the one responsible for bringing in the GUND people. He's got a big vision of where we want to go with this. So we do have fantastic resources. We could get John to do a module on water quality issues. He already has a movie called Bloom, which won, what did it win?
Emmy?
An Emmy.
PBS?
Yeah. Was it?
Two Emmys.
Two Emmys, yeah. You know, so, and I don't really know anything about these awards, but I know, you know, so a really amazing job communicating, so we could build a module around that. In fact, this course has two goals. So it's launching this economics of the Anthropocene, and the way that's gonna focus is we're gonna have a cohort of 5 students a year focused on a specific problem. The specific problem is likely to be Lake Champlain for the first year. And it'll be transporter problems, so I guess most of you already have funding for your first 2 years. You know, it's possible PhD students could get involved as a cohort when we have funding next year. But so, you know, so this idea about a module on Lake Champlain is something I definitely considered, and we already had the building blocks for that with Bloom. Any other? Yeah?
Well, I was just gonna say, also the possibility, I don't know if you've already thought about this, but coordinating with other institutes, sort of like the Gun, I know, you know, in Stockholm, there's an institute that works on ecological economics that I have a contact with, and so that could also be another avenue that would be interesting to have on our website.
And what I'm actually thinking of, even just sending out, and I don't know to what extent we could get overwhelmed, but I definitely would like to send out notices to key people who might want to contribute. We could eventually, we'd like to make this available to any ecological economist, so anybody who's a member of the ISEE, for example, could contribute modules. And at one point though, we would, if it gets overwhelming, we need a very clear way to organize and cross-link so that you can pull your, you know, pull your modules together into a coherent course easily. And we could even have like syllabi or syllabuses, I'm not sure if it's Greek or where the word is from, but that would say, you know, here's types, you know, here's several syllabuses you could choose from, and they would all have the whole course laid out, everything, but using different modules. Yeah.
Another thing, it seems kind of like what we're trying to do is make a scholarly Wikipedia.
Yes.
Kind of. I wonder, I know that Wikipedia in itself has had a lot of internal debates about what should they do, what should they become. I wonder if there's some way we could tap into what they've learned.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think the wiki, that idea of, yeah, because they, you know, yeah, it seems like a good, so if we had a wiki that, you know, for ecological economists to work on it. And one thing here is, Wikipedia is really trying to say, here are the factual knowledge we know. This course, in many ways, would be, there's gonna be different perspectives, different views, disagreements, and I want people to be able to pick and choose so that they can, you know, so different people can express different, you know, teach different things. But so rather than saying essentially, here is the, you know, here's the truth about just distribution, it's say, you know, here's several different approaches, you can choose which one you like. But we can think about that. That's, you know, I'm not an expert on this stuff at all. I do not profess to be. I just think it's a very valuable resource we can get out there.
Is there value in developing the Wikipedia article on ecological economics as it is now? I think it's pretty superficial the way it is, and that's everybody's first stop on the web, right?
Yeah, you know, I never read it. So, yeah, and that'd be a good thing to actually contribute to. Yeah.
And to link to whatever we develop.
Yeah, and like whatever we develop, yeah. Right. So that's, so what we have is, this is a course project, and here are the class topics, and this is all in the syllabus, and I don't have much time, so I'm not gonna go over it in detail, but you know, so this is the course intro, and what I actually did here was, what I also haven't mentioned is I want you guys to read the newspaper and see what current events are and how they relate to this class. So what I just went through very quickly is grabbed a few newspaper articles related to each of the topics in this class. And that's what this limits to growth and related stuff, that's the name. So the interesting thing is the course intro is kind of, you know, why we need ecological economics. And so what I think is telling here, most of the articles I get are from, you know, really recent news, like the past week or so. But just to find anything on limits to growth in the New York Times, that phrase, there is almost nothing in the last, you know, decade. Paul Krugman had a brief article on limits to growth in 2008. And the interesting thing was he was talking about the technological optimism versus technological pessimism. And he said there's a lot of reason to, you know, have favor the optimism, but if you look at what the optimists said we would have done by now, we're way behind. So if you look at, you know, what optimists have said we would have achieved by 2008, we haven't achieved a fraction of it. So I just thought that was an interesting point. But, so that's this class, I don't need to tell you, but the basic idea of these class topics, I thought, are the building, you know, are what modules should focus on. So this is kind of my view of how we could arrange the course, this course. And I don't want everybody to be forced into this mold, but I thought it was a good start for modules. You're going to be introduced to these topics. You then figure out how to effectively teach them. And then it says pre-analytic vision and goals. Oh, and this is actually kind of cool, I thought. You know, so here is kind of the view of the economy nested in society, nested in the ecosystem. And so there was an article in Nature, scientists propose a new architecture for sustainable development. It's a development that meets the needs of the present while safeguarding Earth's life support system, on which the welfare of current and future generations depends. Strikes me as very much, so this is, I think, from a March New York Times. And here is the image they had, which is, you know, the economy, nested in society, nested in Earth's life support system, and these are the goals we need to have. I thought that was dead on ecological economics. And more we're actually seeing this stuff in the New York Times. I mean, this paradigm is emerging in a big way. I'm not gonna go through all of this stuff, but I just thought that one was pretty cool. You know, so the resource base in thermodynamics is another topic. That was just a headline from 2 days ago or 3 days ago, that, you know, they're no longer saying, you know, climate change is probably caused by humans. They're saying almost definitely. Another one on, then we'll have a class on human nature. This article is Welcome to the Age of Denial, and it's talking about, it's written by a physicist who says when in 1982, more people believed in climate change than believe in it now. More people believed in evolution than believe in it now. So we're going backwards in terms of science. I thought this is very relevant to human behavior. That's one of the things that we're talking about is, you know, we are not particularly rational. We are far more emotional. Microeconomics is our next topic. What is efficiency? And I'm not going to go through all these. This is just, you know, economists telling you to beware when you hear economists talking about efficiency. It's a normative value. It's not science. And then we'll have microeconomics and market failures. And as I say, I wasn't prepared enough for, like, you know, 9 hours of lecture. So, and then we're going to do macroeconomics, so goals and measurements. You know, GDP and alternatives. This was elastic numbers make it hard to get a handle on the economy. They just completely revised how we measure GDP, and coincidentally, it makes the recession not as bad as it was and the recovery better than it was. And it has to do things like Seinfeld, the reruns now count towards GDP in a profound way they didn't used to. So it's, we keep revising what GDP is. Then we're going to focus, and this is a topic I think is really interesting, is money and finance. So how does our monetary system work? How does our financial system work? How do we fundamentally revise that to make it effective? And my argument is our current monetary system is completely incompatible with sustainability. And until we reform our monetary system, we can't, it's a necessary but not sufficient change, radical reform of our monetary system. And I want to go in that, and it's not that radical in that the leading economists in the Great Depression said we need radical reform of our monetary system. And they proposed basically the same things I would propose. So then we're going to focus on distribution, and that's that article I showed before where economists don't talk about distribution. That's the Joseph Stiglitz one. Then we're going to talk about, you know, macroeconomics, international trade, and financial contagion. Why is it that if Greece goes belly up, it could have profound impacts on our economy? You know, and why is it that when we have a housing bubble and bust, it has profound impacts around the world? So we want to understand those things. Then we want to focus on policy principles. So, you know, how do we design effective policies, and then policy applications, and then the future of ecological economics. So those are the topics. They're in the syllabus, and these are what I'm proposing become the modules. If people really want to do a different module, I'm very flexible with that, but so, you know, when I thought about it, this is how I envision a course in ecological economics, key principles. Obviously, that's why I'm teaching it to you guys this way. So if I was going to put together the modules by myself, this is how I would do it. If you guys want to do different modules or something like that, you're free to do that. But soon we'll pass around, I'll do a sign-up sheet for modules. And again, this is kind of like the sign-up sheet for the presentations. You know, it's going to be 2 students per module, 13 modules, 26 students. You know, so I don't know the best way to get you guys to sign up for the modules you want to work on. I think they're all really interesting, but you guys might disagree. Any suggestions on the best way to get you guys to sign up? I was gonna do Doodle again, because then whoever first come, first serve, but somebody's gonna get screwed at the end, somebody's gonna get on there and say, oh shit, everybody else has signed up.
I just have a practical question,
Yeah.
because if we're trying to do a presentation together or this module development together with somebody who isn't here, like, are you trying to have us pair with somebody who's physically close?
I think it's gonna work better if you're
Okay.
physically close, so you can do it over the internet. I mean, these days, with
Yeah.
Skype and everything else, it's doable. So I'm not gonna insist, but
Okay.
there are certain nice things about interacting personally with somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything, like, one of these topics is exactly what my dissertation is about, so
Oh.
I'm wondering, well, not exactly, but I mean, goals, measurements, GPI,
Yeah.
alternative indicators. So I guess I would be, and maybe other people in this room have things that their research is gonna be focused on, so is there a way, or would it be fair for that to be a priority?
So how many people have research specifically focused on one of these topics, who would like to do that? And what's yours, Jen?
On the climate, I think it was like the third
All right,
topic.
so yeah, so I think actually, climate was the example from the newspaper, but the resource-based thermodynamics, that
okay.
stuff. Or, so that's, what's the, essentially, that's kind of like the natural system, the sustaining system. And I just look at, what are the resources we use, what's their current status, how the laws of thermodynamics apply, all these things. But there's a lot of flexibility within that.
Yeah.
Is that, and I just use that example of, one resource base is absorption capacity, and we're exceeding that.
I mean,